Welcome back to Hebrew Hits. I'm your host, Malia. I am here with the one and only Nissim Black. How are you doing today? First of all, thank you so much on your busy, busy day. You took the time to sit with me and do this interview, so I really do appreciate it. I know that you're super busy, so thank you so much. How are you doing today?
You're listening to Hebrew Hits. I'm your host, Malia, and I'm so excited that you're tuning in to this show because that means that you want to succeed in life and you do not want to fail. Many of us go through such difficult challenges in life, and it's up to us not to fall victim to them. It's up to us to rise above it and to succeed. I sit down with people who have gone through real big struggles and show that they overcame them and are super successful today. It's what you do with what you have that makes a difference. Hebrew Hits is presented by TMC.
I'm doing amazing. A little tired, but I'm okay.
Okay, well, it's good that you're tired. That means you're doing something. Now, I'm going to try to do this interview a little bit differently than other interviews you've done because you probably say the same thing again and again. So I do know that everybody knows you converted to Judaism. Before we even talk about that, I want to ask you, what is the best part of life? You know, there are so many people that don't walk around happy. And like, I saw you today, you don't even know me. And like, you greeted me with a smile and you're like excited about, you know, your passion and everything. How does one have a happy life? And what is your favorite part of life?
I think it's part of what we spoke about before, but I will go even deeper and say that the main thing that we will probably find our happiness, where we will find our happiness. I heard many years ago a wonderful, wonderful quote said that if you take a fish out of water, it flaps and it'll die. And there'd be nothing oppressive about a fish. But once you put a fish in water, then to see that fish go, you'll see the genius of a fish. And the same thing about all of us. We have to figure out where our waters are, where we're supposed to be. And I think that that's what happens. Usually most people go through life feeling very, very out of place. They work jobs that don't mean anything for them and don't mean anything to them. They live a life and we're always in. And let's not even start with how much we're trying to make ourselves a certain way so we can fit in with other people. So we don't usually know ourselves. And I think the biggest problem is that most people are suffering because they don't take time to get to know who they are, and once they know who they are, then they'll know what they're supposed to be doing. And I think that that's the ultimate key to happiness.
My question is, though, is how is somebody supposed to know who they are? You know, like, you must be so lucky to know who you are at a young age, but how does somebody find out who they are?
The way you find out who you are is, first off, any way that you would like to find out about somebody else. You have to spend time with you. Most people are not spending time with themselves. You get in a car, first thing a person does is turn on music because there's something that makes them feel very, very uncomfortable about hearing their own thoughts. And to sit in silence will bring them maybe to some places that they're not so comfortable with being. But you have to get uncomfortable to be comfortable. And that requires that we spend a lot of time with ourselves, and it requires that we spend a lot of time with God to be able to find out more about ourselves. It says Hashem himself he's the source, he's the makor, he's the shorish of everything, of all life. So by him is everything. We have an interesting tradition that teaches that when a person is born and brought into the world, that there was a malach that went and taught that person every single thing, all of the Torah. They taught them every single thing they're going to be able to know about Torah and what their mission in life is. The moment they come into the world, they hit here and they forget everything. So what's our mission? To go and find it, to go look for it. Where is it going to be? By Hashem. Of course, that's where the place is going to be. So very important to know yourself, spend time with yourself, and then spend time with Hashem, and you'll find it.
So I have two questions here. Okay. Number one. Okay, awesome.
One maybe I don't know.
So the first question I have is, you were not born Jewish. Did you also have a malach with you in the womb that also pinched you, as you're saying, over on your lip? Did that happen or no?
That's a very good question. I don't know what others would say, but one of the things I know that we do also have a tradition that a person that's born, we have a teaching that Lubavitcher Rebbe was very big on this, that soul was a new Jewish neshama before it came, and for whatever reason, there was many different reasons why it's said, and a lot of the esoteric reasons as to why this particular soul had to be born in a non-Jewish family. But if you talk to most people, myself included, they had moments in their life where they felt very, very out of place. Their whole life they were looking for where did they belong. And it wasn't until they came to Yiddishkeit and somehow the wool was taken off of their eyes to the Torah and the truth of the Torah, that they felt, wow, I'm at home. So there's many people like that, myself included, and I definitely had moments like that in my life.
Wow. So you're saying that when you hit Judaism, you knew this is where you belonged, correct?
It's not only that I knew where I was belong. I lived, I had a whole year that it felt like my whole life was deja vu. Every time I was in the shul, I was davening with, and everything I was like, I was here before. I felt like I was here. I know this person, but I didn't know this person. But I felt like I knew this person. So for sure, I definitely felt like that, and I still feel like that. I'm not having as many deja vus, but for sure, definitely feel. And when I look back on my life retrospectively, I see it. I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood as a kid. You would have never been able to tell me that me, walking through this shul every single day and riding my bike in another shul and over here, that I would have been davening chakras in these shuls when I got older. I would have never thought of it. But Hashem has his way. My wife, she grew up in a church that was very interesting. The church she grew up in had a Magen David all over the place. So it turns out the very shul that I was riding my bike in the back of moved from the other side of town back in maybe the 50s or 60s, moved to my side of town. So I grew up over there by that shul. She grew up in the old building where it still has a lot of the writing over there. She grew up in there seeing a Magen David the whole entire time, and she ends up growing up and she's Magaya in the very shul from the old building that she grew up in that church. So it's very, very interesting. So Hashem knows what he's doing. We don't, but Hashem knows what he's doing.
So what I heard the story is this was your girlfriend before you became Jewish, correct? Yeah. And then you both converted together?
Yes, absolutely. Me and my wife are high school sweethearts. So we've been together since we were 16 years old. And yes, we did everything together.
Because of you?
My wife converted. Now, the truth is, I was the first one who got bit by the bug, for sure. In the beginning, she was not so, on board. But after growing and spending a lot of time learning together, she was the first one who decided to actually say she wanted to go like Orthodox. So that was her. She was the first one to say that she wanted to get. So I would at least say that she beat me there.
Oh, wow. So I want to go back to a point that you were talking about before we got in. Oh, sure. It is very hot.
It is like very hot.
Yeah.
And I have this thing, when I start talking about Hashem, a fire starts going in my body, and it turns on. Even in the AC, I would start sweating. I'm being honest. So.
That's awesome. You see, Hashem lit a fire in your soul and in your heart.
No doubt about it.
So I have this question regarding when you're still talking about being with yourself. Mm-hmm. When you're with yourself trying to figure out who you are you supposed to be asking yourself questions of who am I, or just being with yourself? Mm-hmm. Because that's like we didn't finish that conversation.
So it's interesting. Rabbi Levi Yitzhak Binder, who was one of the big Kadmonim, big person in Breslov, probably one of the most influential people in the Breslov movement, who came over from Russia after the falling of the Iron Curtain. He himself was very, very big on that a person should pay attention to their thoughts. Your thoughts are running all the time. Just pay attention to what you're thinking. So there's many different ways to do that, but obviously it's much easier to do that when you're quiet. So having alone time and quiet, which is usually referred to as hisbodedus or hitbonenut, where a person sits and contemplates and even without speaking. I think the next level of it is sometimes it's very, very important for a person to talk to themselves. I talk to myself a lot. This is a cheshbon nefesh. And I say, Nissim, what were you thinking? What were you thinking? But it's very, very important for a person to look, because all of us have been given signs, hints, and things that have been biased for us to be paying attention to. And usually a lot of the traumas that we've dealt with in our life are there to go in the goodie bag, not on the other side, And so it's a very interesting thing that if a person could sit and literally it's not rocket science. You just sit, you be with yourself. And sometimes it's very good. I found also too to put on some nice music and different things to get yourself in a certain place, but contemplate and think on your life. Think about from your childhood. Go back. Come to where you are. Don't throw out. Another thing is very bad too. People just throw out childhood dreams that they remember from their childhood. Like, why do you remember a dream and you're 30, 40, and it was something that I'm not talking about a nightmare, but I'm talking about things that made an impression on you. A lot of times we're not looking for the signs and wonders that Hashem is trying to do for all of us, and it's very important to sit and be quiet and to think about these things.
So that is sparking another question, because when you're saying like these things that Hashem, right, is like putting into your thoughts, do you find that Hashem is actually talking to us? He's not, like, I always say, Hashem, please talk to me. Hashem is not calling me on the phone. Hashem is not texting me. How am I supposed to have Hashem talk to me when Hashem is not physical?
Well, it says that the Gemara brings that every day there's a bas kol that goes out from Shemayim that says, Shuvu Bani, my children return to me. There's many different instances in where this happens, but it's absolutely true that Hashem is always speaking to us, not all the time audibly. There's some of us who are not on that much rega. I don't know what the big people of the generation and in prior years, what they experience, but a lot of times that it takes for us to just being keen to watch the things that are going on around us. And that the spiritual awareness comes from, you get what you put in. If you put more and more into your spirituality by spending time in meditation, prayer, and learning, then the more and more that you do that, and the more and more that Hashem says himself, if you seek me, you will find me. So that's the most important thing, is that what you put in is what you get out. It's no different than business or anything else. The people that work very, very hard, and you see that they'll slave to make the next buck or to be the biggest in whatever field that they are, the difference between us and the very, very righteous people in generation, they did the same thing, but they only did it towards Hashem. That's the biggest difference.
I have so much that I want to talk to you about. We're going to have to do another interview when you have more time, because I know that you are going on stage soon. I do have one more question that, if you wouldn't mind me asking, is, here's the question. Okay, you are not Jewish. You were doing music. I mean, I've seen your videos, and you were popular. You were popular. Now you're Jewish. You're still doing music, and you're still following your passion. Have you seen your purpose change? You're still doing the same thing.
No, I've only seen it become more defined. I don't think that anything changed. I think that what happened is now it's become more defined. It's one thing to know that you always were supposed to be. Like for me, myself, I was just having a conversation with a very, very close friend, and that close friend, I told him, I said that when I look at myself, I spent a lot of time with myself, and every time you receive new things, but that's not really new, is just a clarification. And one thing that I clarified, that I was put here to make Hashem's name known, not in a secretive type of way, not in I was put here literally to scream from my innards, to let the whole entire world know that Hashem is in the world. I know that that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I know I'm running PR marketing for Hashem, so that I know that that's what I'm supposed to be doing, and things that will deter from that are not something that I need to make a part of whether it's my career, whether it's my day-to-day life, because it has nothing to do with what my purpose is in this world. So
I love that. Thank you so much for being here. Now, has this been your favorite podcast to ever be on?
I think so. I think it's like hands down for sure.
I'll tell you why. I mean, look at the crew all laughing, but I'll tell you why is because I really tried asking you questions that people don't ask you. Did I achieve that?
You definitely did. You definitely did. So you got different answers than what other people got also too. So because of that.
That's awesome. So thank you so much for being here. I'm your host, Malia. This is Hebrew Hits. Make sure to go subscribe and check out Nissim Black. You can follow and you can subscribe to our website, HebrewHitsRadio.com, and go subscribe to our YouTube channel, Hebrew Hits Radio. See you back next time.